Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Saturday, May 16, and we are here as every morning to keep each other company, to check out what's going on in places near and far, to connect with one another, to share ideas, thoughts, comments, suggestions, to stay motivated, to stay healthy, to stay creative, to learn something new, and to enjoy our surroundings as best as possible. If you're new here and you're looking for a nice combination of important news with a little bit of humor, with a little bit of community, then you've come to the right place. My name is Paco, and we've been doing this for some time, and we're having a really good time. If you are new, please write the word new in your comment so that we can welcome you accordingly. If you have a question, please write the letter Q at the beginning of your question or write the word question. I invite you to do this because there are a lot of hellos going on. There's a lot of commentary going on, and I want to acknowledge each and every one of your contributions, of course. But I also want to make sure that I don't miss out on any important uh, questions because all questions are important. While we're waiting for people to join the broadcast, I'm going to say good morning to Sue, to Roger, to Greg, to Kathleen, Rita, Sean, Mario, Gina, Stacy, Sharon, who loves watching this later online. Absolutely. Please keep in mind that anybody that's watching later on, number one, you can certainly watch whenever is most convenient to you, and that's wonderful. If you leave a comment later on, I'll be happy to answer it. I always review them later on in the day and the day before. Plus, when you're catching the show later on, of course, all the show notes, all the links to everything that we talk about are already there. For those of us that are doing this live, usually we end the show and I spend the next few minutes uploading all the comments and notes to Facebook and then to YouTube, where I walked in yesterday and Bad Paco, I've seen that a lot of people have been commenting on YouTube, and I have failed to acknowledge that because I'm just so used to doing the live here because I know so many members of our community are here. Um, Chris, good morning. Fernando, ay, Fernando, it's so good to see you. Me encanta que estás aquí. Sharon, good morning. Roger, Rick, Mihal, Sly, Gina, Delta is scheduled to start nonstop service there in July 2nd from Atlanta. That's good to know. Gina, I think you had a procedure. Were you on recovery from something? I certainly hope you're doing well. March, Russell, Karen, Celeste. If your ears buzzed yesterday, you'll find out why soon. Paul, good morning. Randall Scott, newish. That's goodish. It's good to see you here, Randall Scott. This is what we do. If you find something useful or inspiring or something that brings a smile to your face, please come back because this is what we're trying to do. Uh, Gina, nice to know that you're healing well. Let's start looking at some of the headlines because there have been some reactions both in my little micro universe and around me in social media groups and among comments that I've heard from my friends about everything that was announced by the governor in terms of the opening within Jalisco. For starters, I want to emphasize something that I hope I made clear when we discuss the new guidelines, which is it's not like we're reopening on Monday as though nothing has happened. This is not about business as usual. Monday is the day in which you will have looked at all the protocols and all the guidelines. And if you're following them, if you have everything in order, then you can start your process of opening again. Now, I read through this article, I haven't looked at the whole thing, that there will actually be some sort of sticker that will be attached to your store so that um, some kind of acknowledgement can be made that you have followed the protocol. Some people were commenting yesterday having to buy thermometers, having to follow all these guidelines. Why is this happening? And why is this being done to us and so forth and so on. I don't have an exact answer for you. I do think that what the government is trying to do is to make sure that businesses realize that there is no such thing as business as usual. And there is no such thing as like it was before. At least not until we have some sort of vaccine and some sort of method in which we can track the disease, and certainly until we don't have widespread testing available. So, if you're finding that the guidelines are harsh, if you're finding that you'd rather wait a little longer to open to see if the guidelines um, relax a little bit, you won't be the only person that does this. It is possible that once the 2 weeks of this transition period are over, the guidelines will be more relaxed, but it is also possible that the guidelines will remain the same. I don't have the answer, but I will endeavor to continue trying to relay this information as best as possible. Again, everybody is inventing the wheel as we go. Um, and of course, if you think that things couldn't get more exciting, they can, because hurricane season is upon us. It officially started yesterday, and federal authorities already anticipate that this year will be a bit more exciting than years before. The predictions at this point tell us that for the Pacific coast, they're anticipating there will be between 4 and 5 hurricanes in category 1 or 2, and between 4 and 5 categories, hurricanes in categories 3, 4, or 5. We know that this is something that goes on through the summer, um, and we can only hope that hurricane season will not be too unkind to us, um, just because we've been enjoying quite a beating with all this stuff that's going on. I'll have you know that I have shared information from Zen Habits, the wonderful website that Leo Babauta has about wellness and healthy living. And I found this really wonderful article on a guide to dealing with the growing tiredness and boredom of the new normal. I invite you all to read it, and I invite you all to follow this website. It is full of really practical, sensible, and useful information that we can all enjoy. Um, I also found out that the health club and gym associations in Mexico are working on their own protocols, or are working on ways in which they can help health clubs throughout the country to know exactly what to do and what will be expected of them when it's time to start opening gyms. Um, so if you're a health club owner or a health club goer, you may want to take a look at this article just to see what's coming and what you can expect in the near future. And of course, we are all waiting for the vaccine. We hear reports from north of the border that, yeah, there will be a vaccine ready by Christmas. Of course, these reports come from a nation leader who has been challenged a number of times with the words that the credibility of some of his words. This is an article that comes from Vox, and as I've said many times, I tend to take these articles fairly seriously because Vox is an agency that does a lot of research in their work. So I'm going to leave that there with you and share the link at the end of the show. Let me see before we move on to restaurants, which I really want to talk to you about restaurants today. Um, I want to see if there's any specific questions about what we've talked about. Stickers are a great idea. We'll be on the lookout for them. Again, Stacy, what's going on here apparently is that the governor gave the statements that he gave with the information that he had at his disposal. Now he has mentioned that some kind of sticker procedure will be put in place, and I happened to glance at the notice that he will be going live later on today to explain precisely how this is going to work. Again, I'll keep my eye on that. Good morning, gay guide. Small businesses are on their knees. Absolutely. Um, Absolutely. This is important. This is difficult for everybody. Somebody asked me privately, why are they doing this to us? And we need to remember, nobody's doing anything to anything. This is happening to all of us. And although sometimes some things may feel personal or unfair, um, we're not gonna get out of this one easily, and it's going to take the goodwill and the patience of many of us. We know that there are businesses that are struggling, and unfortunately, we know that there are businesses that will not come back. But we need to pick the battles we can win, and do the best we can under these circumstances. Um, Mark Zamet, who is new and has a question. Welcome, Mark. By any chance, is there a version for the protocol in English specifically for hotels and vacation rentals? There is not, Mark. I think hotels should have, I mean, if you are a hotel and you don't have a staff member that has the capability to translate for you, I don't know what to tell you. It's a big country, Mexico is, and the government is having a difficult time enough, not only making the information available in Spanish, but also the number of dialects that are spoken throughout the country. I don't know if you guys know this, but there are a number of official dialects that are spoken in Mexico. So the government's priority, of course, will be to make all this information publicly available to all the official dialects in Mexico before they think of doing something in English. My best advice for you is to find a translator in your staff or hire a translator to hold your hand with very specific questions. Um, have I heard anything about the four city council members who were sick? I know that they have been sick, and that is all that I've heard of, William. I think many people have been sick, and they're all as important. I certainly hope that anybody that has been infected with the virus is going to have the best possible outcome. I completely understand that frustration, but we want Puerto Vallarta to be the safest possible so the people feel free to come back and feel at ease. Absolutely, Stacy. It's going to be a combined effort for everybody to make this place as safe as possible. Will we ever be virus free? I don't think so, because that's the nature of the beast. Um, Cheryl asks, how are IMSS hospitals doing? Are they full or what? From what I read from official reports, our hospital capacity is down, not down from higher. It's what I'm trying to say is there is enough hospital capacity in the region right now, so things are good. Um, what about El Tigre, the head of Transito? I heard he was sick very well. I don't know, William. I don't follow specific cases. For better or worse. I think everybody is as important as everybody else, and I certainly hope again that everybody is going through the best possible outcome if they have the disease. Good morning, Luis. Hello, Paul. Hi, our translator. Good idea. My pleasure, Mark. I hope you found the answer helpful. I know it can be frustrating for English speaking people here in town. I choose to speak to or have these conversations with English speaking folks because I know that this is an important thing here in our community. The reality of Mexico, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, is that Puerto Vallarta is a very unique destination. Los Cabos is kind of unique in the same way. There are enough people speaking English and there are enough locals that speak English that it is easy to develop this false feeling or understanding that the rest of the country is bilingual, and the case is far from that. You go to any city, large and small, in throughout the country, and if you're going to a hotel, chances are that you will find people that can speak English. But if you go to a regular business or a supermarket or a bank or anywhere else, people are not bilingual. So this can be difficult to take in when just about everybody in Puerto Vallarta speaks English if you are in the tourist areas, which is another point. If you spend any time in Pitillal or Guapinole or Aralias or all these other neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta that you may or may not even be familiar with, people don't speak English. And that's neither good nor bad. That's just the nature of the beast. Um, there are some bars in town that are easily able to provide food from neighboring restaurants, but do not have a devoted kitchen. Is a bit unclear as to which category fall into and which protocols to follow. Um, Let me be a little bit creative here and give you an interesting example. Um, there is a restaurant that I'm going to mention in a second called Macareno. It is located next to another restaurant, which I'm going to mention in a second, called La Mara. La Mara has a liquor license. Macareno doesn't have a liquor license. So um, if you are sitting at Macareno and you want to order a glass of wine, they are willing to be flexible enough that you can order a glass of wine from the place next door. So I'm not going to tell you to do that. What I'm going to tell you is that you may be able to do that, but then again, I am not an official authority. I am not someone who's going to show up at your business with a badge and say, "Why are you doing this?" So I cannot guarantee that this is not going to uh, be without some kind of adverse consequence to you. Um, in theory, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, Apaches is located near places that offer food such that you could work out a deal. Hopefully, you'll be able to do that. But again, remember that what's going on right now, this phase zero, is a temporary 2 week transition period. Everything could look better in a couple of weeks or not. My best wishes for you guys at Apaches. I know you have a very steady clientele. You are a small community that brings a lot of people. And by saying small, I don't mean meaningless. I say small because it's precious. Every time I walk by your place, you're always packed with people, and that's a nice thing to be proud of. Um, I believe it comes down to what your license says. Absolutely. I mean, you sign papers that tell you what kind of business you are and what you're able to do and what you're not able to do, and that's just the way it is. For people who travel from Guadalajara to PV, is the expectation they quarantine? As far as I understand, no, not to quarantine, but I do know that these checkpoints, sanitary checkpoints, are being put in place in places where the government deem it's important to have them. Again, um, anybody that is traveling should be traveling for need, not for leisure right now. The state of Jalisco has not opened the state for tourism in any way, shape, or form just yet. Uh, I love speak different languages. Who, me? Well, I try to speak as many as I can, but we try our damnedest. Totally agree. I thought maybe the tourism board might have published something as a way to promote reopening to U.S. and Canadian travelers. Here is what's going on. I mean, the tourism board is caught between a rock and a hard place. I haven't seen any specific information coming out from Puerto Vallarta's tourism board. I know that the Riviera Nayarit has been publishing very generic things like, you gotta love our beaches and you gotta love our hotels and so forth and so on. Hotels and tourism cannot do anything easily without official information that the region is open for tourism business. All hotels can do, if I can suggest, is to appeal to your frequent guests, people that have traveled to you in the past, with you in the past. Any smart hotel has had a mailing list. Any smart hotel has had a record of the people that you know that are your frequent guests, the people that you love. I think it'll be easier for hotels and restaurants and shops to go and seduce or persuade or convince or remind your past favorite guests to returning than trying to go out and entice an entirely new um, group of visitors. So if you are a hotel owner, be sending letters, be sending messages, be posting in your social media outlets to your to your favorite guests or your frequent guests and saying, "Hey guys, we're itching just like everybody else is, and as soon as we know that we can do something, you'll be the first to know." Um, do I know anything about plants in Nayarit? I keep getting these questions, and I don't know specific information about Nayarit. I know that a couple of people expressed similar questions, and I will make it a point to do some research about what's going on in Nayarit. Okay, so 10 more minutes or so. I'm always happy to go on as long as you want, but boy, we've been having longer streams. I want to talk about restaurants because I need to come clean with you guys. I've been going to restaurants and uh, and not a lot because, it's not like I have all the disposable income in the world, but I want you to know that I've decided to choose one, two, or maybe three restaurants that I know that I love, and I'm going to support them. I'm going to go out and I'm going to follow the best possible guidelines I can follow as a patron. And I'm going to keep an eye on making sure that the restaurants that I go to are doing the same, that are protecting me, protecting themselves, that we're on in this together. And by saying this, I'm not saying you should all go out and go to restaurants right now. I think we all should go out whenever we feel it's right for us to go out. But what I've decided to do is um, I there's been a number of restaurants that I've written about on my website, and these are most of the restaurants that I write about have something in common. They are new businesses, they are small businesses, and they have a certain charm or a certain charisma that is very personal, and I appreciate that. So yesterday my friend Kathleen and I went to a small restaurant in Versailles, which I adore, and it's called Macareno. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what I wrote about them when I have my website on the screen. Macareno is a small antojeria. They serve Mexican food, and on my website, I wrote about how they serve antojos, which is literally it means a craving, but it's the kind of stews that we frequently eat here in Mexico, and um, and it's a great restaurant because it's extremely affordable and here's Paco, the owner, and of course this is not a photo from yesterday. Yesterday they were all covered in face masks and so forth and so on. But it's a place where you can order a la carte. This is their menu, and they have tacos and quesadillas and chilaquiles and molletes, which is sliced white bread, and huaraches, which are cactus leaves. And then you can choose from all these stews. So if you want to go in and have a taco with chorizo on it, then that's your price, and you pretty much put together your order as you go along. So it is really a fun restaurant to go to. So this is what I'm going to do. Restaurants that I've visited before, I'm going to go back and check in on them, see how they're doing, um, and start spending some money. I don't have a lot of money to spend. Again, I don't want to preach to having this huge disposable income to be going to restaurant after restaurant, but I will not just sit around and feel self-conscious because there are a number of people out there saying, well, we saw so and so at a restaurant, or how can they be open, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I'm going to try to be as respectful of everybody, but I will not stop recommending places that I think you may want to consider when it's right for you to do that. I also want you to know that right after I had lunch with my friend Catherine, because there's a bunch of wonderful restaurants all clustered in the same part of Versailles near Calle Francia, I walked over to Orégano, which is another fairly new restaurant right around the corner from Macareno. And I was so happy to see that Chef Graciela made it. And that's a horrible thing to say. because as I'm walking down the street, I've seen that other restaurants have closed. And I hope for the best for people who are not able to maintain their business. I wish for them to be able to reinvent themselves. But I am also so very happy that restaurants that I know and love are doing okay. And I was happy to see Chef Graciela and her assistant. I was happy to see them. Um, Having expanded their restaurant a few weeks before the pandemic. They have a slightly larger eating area and a larger kitchen. And again, I didn't have a chance to sit down with Graciela and to enjoy their food, but I will leave the links to these articles on. They are from my website, and I will share them with you. So if indeed we are taking word of mouth so seriously, if word of mouth means so much to us. These are two restaurants that I have, uh, well, Macareno, I just went and I have the intention to go back to Orégano in the near future. And this is an invitation to you to please share with us your take on your restaurant outings as you start going out. Um, Feel free to share about any restaurant that you want, but also please know that my choice is to talk about small restaurants, community places, because that's where my heart is, for better or worse. But it was so nice to see her. It was so nice to see their friendly face, and I think if I have it handy, I can even share with you this impromptu photo that I took yesterday of Chef Graciela and her assistant. They were just too sweet, uh, standing there for the pose. It was just a good thing to see them. Anyhow, this is what I want to share with you about restaurants. I am so glad to see that some of you are familiar with these particular ones. It's nice to hear that Kathleen went to Lapa Lapa, felt like a human again. You see, that's the thing. Another place that I went to, and I have not written about it, but it is a favorite place of mine. I accepted an impromptu invitation to Barracuda on Cinco de Diciembre. In Barracuda, Carlos has done such a wonderful place in that restaurant, and the tables were nicely spaced. There was no service on the beach, of course. The beaches were completely empty, but I ordered these tacos de marlin, which is are flavors that for whatever reason, I just don't cook at home. I don't cook marlin. I don't know how to do it. But just taking a bite into this flavor that has nothing to do with what I eat on a daily basis was just such a um, soothing feeling. I mean, it was almost, well, not, it was sensual. I was going to say sexual, but of course it was not sexual. I'm in my late 50s. I don't get that anymore. But it was really, really wonderful. So anyhow, um, feel free to share. If you're going out to restaurants, know that this is a safe space. We're never going to judge anybody for doing what they do. I understand that some people, again, are really apprehensive about going out or hearing about other people going out. We all take steps at our own pace, and this is what I share with you. Um, it's nice to hear of other places. La Tosteria, I have never been to La Tosteria, Claude. Maybe one of these days you can tell us a little bit more about it. La Mara is also next on my list. La Mara is the wonderful ceviche place that is right next um, to Macareno. The owners know each other quite well, if you catch my drift. So it's not a surprise that their businesses are next to one another's. They're both extremely successful restaurants, and they are a must. And of course, now it's the summer season, and it's starting to get a little bit warm, so it is nice to enjoy fresh food from the tropics. Um, you can almost see you tasting that martini again. Um, well, yes. I mean that Marlin. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean it was heavenly. I mean it's. I'm not a food connoisseur, but um, but I do try to make sure that all my five senses are nicely taken care of when it comes to taking in information. And these are all wonderful places. Marge had mentioned this to me before. I'm going to bring it up again. Culture is now open again. Culture is another awesome place where there's a great little artistic community. If you don't know Culture, you should check it out. It is an old basic hotel in in Colonia Emiliano Zapata that was turned into artist studio. So downstairs, it's all eating and drinking and so forth and so on. Upstairs, many artists have small cubicle. Well, they were rooms. They were actually hotel rooms, but they were so tiny, so they've been turned into artist spaces where artists can sell their wares. The only thing that is sadly unfortunate this time of year at Culture is that a lot of the artists that have a shop there are not present during the summer. And so it is unfortunate that whereas one might be going in looking for this open studio experience where you get to interact with the artist, how nice it would be if the artist would actually be there on a regular basis or at least one day a week in which you have the certainty that you can exchange words with them because or learn more about what they do. Um, El Rio Barbecue is open for takeout and delivery. I didn't know this, but it is good to know. Um, Tostaderia, thank you so much. Um, Kim thinks it's funny that I don't get that anymore. Well, I think I exaggerated, Kim. I just don't get it as frequently as I used to. Um, of course, it's normal that it, we all would want to go out and have a meal outside of a restaurant. And again, we need to move forward as at whatever pace is comfortable for us. I have a handful of quick, non-related headlines that I want to go over because it is the weekend and we should throw in some leisure in our lives if we can. And I'm going to share with you um, that we'd better get a vaccine because there's going to be yet another Star Trek series. This one's going to be called Strange New Worlds, and it's going to focus on Captain Pike, who was captain of the Enterprise before James T. Kirk moved into the main chair. If you're not a Trekkie, I will continue moving forward with my news. But it's going to be so exciting. So we better get a vaccine because we all want to stay up and healthy and so forth and so on. Engadget tells us, talks about how now every musician is basically a YouTuber, and it is an interesting commentary on what musicians have had to rely on to continue to stay afloat. And it is an interesting article. I haven't read the whole thing, but one of the subheadlines caught my attention. It asks the questions: how many greatest hits on an acoustic guitar to an iPhone can one fan stomach? And this is a very true fact. You know, people that are doing lives and are singing the same thing over and over and over again. It's no different than going to Encanto or any other venue in town and seeing artists do the same songs over and over again. Restaurants renew their menus from time to time. Musicians, we have to do the same thing. Even those of us who sit in front of a camera and try to keep you entertained, we try to do the best we can to keep you interested and amused. Um, I must be really excited about Star Trek because I pulled out a bunch of links so we don't have to go through all of them. Oh, this is really awesome. If you think that animated series are only about silly cartoons, or you think that opera is just about frumpy big ladies with brass bras, or you think that all classical music is serious and boring, I have news for you. Avatar: The Last Airbender is back on Netflix, and it is the most amazing, fabulous storytelling story you could ever binge on. I think I am going to share this with you because it may be for you, it may not be for you, and it has nothing to do with Puerto Vallarta, so I'm doing this very quickly. So just check it out. Check it out. You may love it. You'd be surprised. This is an interesting piece of news that I got from the paper. Why am I rushing? You're not rushing me. I'm going to go relaxed. Um, there are two venues in Mexico that are now considering doing closed door concerts in which the whole thing is televised and you pay a certain access fee to be able to watch them from home. These are there's a venue in Mexico City, and that would be the the Pepsi Center, World Trade Center in Mexico City, and the Conjunto Santander de Artes Escénicas in Guadalajara. How this is going to work, I am not sure, but apparently they're trying to entice large concert producers to go into the venues and have their show. And there's a ticketing way in which you get a code to be able to stream them from home. It's nice to see that we see some alternatives coming in for performing musicians. Of course, not everybody is going to be able to afford these uh, large venues and spectacular state-of-the-art venues, but at least the shows are going on one way or another, or some shows. Along the same lines, I was sad to see that Tanglewood Music Center is going to be closed this summer, along with a number of summer music festivals in the United States. This is very, very sad news. Uh, because this season's lineup included people like John Williams and James Taylor and Patti LaBelle and John Legend and a bunch of other people. And this is just one of the places that have canceled other big venues around the United States. The Santa Fe Opera, the Ravinia Festival in Chicago, Glimmerglass has also canceled their summer programming, and it is what it is, I suppose. If you have been curious about Mark Zuckerberg's blossoming into an adult and all the things that have been thrown at Facebook through the years, the New York Times offers a really interesting article as to how all the challenges that he has had to deal with through his time as CEO of Facebook have changed him and matured him in one way or another. Not always flawless, but definitely into a new kind of person. Um, this is as unrelated as we get today. I don't know if you know about the Maya train or if you've heard of this before. This is a project, a large, enormous project that is being developed in Mexico for several years now, and it's going to take quite a few years for this to be completed. But when this is finished, there is this train that is going to be combination freight and combination passenger that is going to be able to allow for travel through the entire Yucatan Peninsula. Of course, the construction of this train has been plagued with all kinds of political undertones and who's getting the contracts and who is not getting the contracts, and is it damaging the environment or not, versus is it strengthening the whole region both from a touristic point of view and from an industrial point of view. All I know is that when this thing opens, uh, I'm going to be one of the first passengers to take it because I love train travel, and this is a part of Mexico that I've never had the pleasure and privilege to explore. And that's pretty much all that I have for today. Taking a quick look at your very last remarks so that we can close this circle um, uh, properly. Paul wants restaurant suggestions. Paul, we want you back in town now. I know that you have your eye doctor on the 1st, and you must be itching to get some clarity so that you can come back and join us. And we miss Eileen to the left. Eileen to the left needs to be present for the Puerto Vallarta Virtual Pride Festival. Indispensable. Organic Select is doing takeout. This is good to know. Thank you, William. They have the best ribs. I don't know that must have something to do with El Rio, of course. Culture's hours are now 2 to 10, so they are open during shopping hours. Um, let's see. Yes, we are currently in a strange new world, and the sooner we get used to it, the better we're going to be. Oh, thank God, there's at least another Trekker in the house. I won't trouble you with many Trek news in the future, don't worry. Thinking outside of the box is the new normal. Absolutely. Creativity is going to be essential. Comment about live streaming concerts. Absolutely. And this is why we get together every day, my dear friends. I welcome the nourishment and the nurturing that I get from you because you keep me creative, and I hope that I can do the same back for you through some of the things and the ideas and the stories that we exchange here. Um, have a great weekend. What's a weekend? Good question. We miss beers, boys, and burgers at Hotel Mercurio. We do. I miss a swimming pool big time. But again, one step at a time. Hopefully, we can all continue to head into a place where we can continue to nurture our community, continue to be productive in our society, and continue to remain safe through this whole thing. With that thought in mind, I once again, as always, thank you for sticking around, for joining me, for offering me your comments and suggestions privately, for sharing ideas. There was so much love for Candace Shaw yesterday. You guys made me so very happy. She's a wonderful human being and has done so much for the community. So it is Saturday indeed. I'm going to go and have a great day because I cooked a bunch of stuff yesterday, aside from going to a restaurant. So today is a good day for sweeping, cleaning house, watching some old Star Trek episodes, why not? And start watching Avatar: The Last Airbender again. I've seen the whole series before, and it is absolutely delightful. So find something wonderful to do today. Find something that keeps you grateful for being alive and being here, and find something for to be mindful of the fact. Oh, let me very quickly start getting into weather mode, which is something that we're going to start doing more regularly because, as we start having weather changes, we're going to start keeping track of humidity. Today it's 81 degrees. It feels like 80. It's 27 Celsius. Humidity is higher than yesterday. Humidity is 36%. Sunrise will be west at 7:25, and sunset comes in at 8:33. For all those sunset shots at the beach that we cannot step on, welcome to the new normal, at least for now. I will see you back tomorrow or hopefully soon. Expect the show notes to be online in a few minutes. Have a great day.